my cribs. This is Implicit. Today, I'm gonna take you on a tour of my nonpartisan crib. So right up in here, this is my office. This is where me and the beautiful Miss Amber do all of our research up in her occur. Now me and Amber, we don't mess with bias up in here. Basically, bias is the manifestation of latent personal beliefs that can subconsciously shape behavior. Don't mean you gotta be hating. Sometimes you don't even know it's there. Now, where my homies get confused is between a bias and a prejudice. They're used synonymously, but homie, those concepts differ. Prejudice behavior is a conscious act usually driven by stereotypes, whereas bias manifests in minute ways, usually unnoticed to oneself. Feel me? Now, stereotypes may form because of a bias. Feel me? Stereotypes rooted in bias lead to prejudice, which then causes discrimination for women. See, the difference between Implicit and all the other psychiatrists out there is that he's just so woke. More woke than any person I've ever met. He even simply described the difference between bias to me, gender and racial and all the other etc. etc. Oh, she right. Cause like people be thinking like, oh, bias, that's like towards like a group of people, whatever. Yeah, like I get it. But like, do you though? Because like, us in the world of psychology, like we deal with like unconsciously skewing our own observations. You feel me? Like we got observer bias up in here. Thank you, baby. Like when I'm in the studio, making my experiments, like laying it down, it's hard for me not to get so invested that I don't even see myself skewing, the data to fit my expectations of the experiment. So you really got to stay, woke about that. And then when you think about it, like when I'm out there, trying to hustle, trying to like connect with other psychiatrists and stuff, like you got to be thinking about your interactions with others, like, like actor observer bias, right? We be thinking in this like egotistical mindset, feel me, B? Mm-hmm. Because we be thinking about our own actions in the light of external circumstances. We're reacting to external
I remember you telling me about that last night. Implicit.
I actually did. So yeah, and then observer bias. So you assuming like you yourself are acting from external forces, but others are acting from internally driven forces. Their needs, their wants, whatever. Trying to clown you, whatever. And that's one of those ones. It's a self-serving bias. We all got a lot of those. Like bias, distortion of memory. Like. Sometimes you be sitting there thinking like, oh man, I saw this fool get crazy at the party last night. And then Amber keeping it real, like, that was you, Implicit? Like, what? But like, I know. Because when those memories don't align to your current morals or like societal standards, shit, whack. Makes your brain trick you, B. You got those biases in yourself. And I guess I do like to keep me woke. Come here, let me show y'all where I chill. Once you know about the different types of bias, that's not enough. You gotta be able to get information and recognize that type of bias. So a great indicator of that is like an author's, intent. If someone's trying to sell you something, if it's a politician, if someone's trying to convince you of something, that right there is a biased interpretation of facts. Not saying the facts are wrong, the interpretation is there to bias you. Something, in the context of education or whatnot, that's usually less biased. Not saying, obviously, like, people gonna be fronting, like, educational texts can be biased, so you gotta look out for the voice. using any heavily connotated language, super good, super bad, that's a dead giveaway, not scientific. I'm on realsexism.com the other day, right? And this dude found facts like, 97% of combat deaths are, combat fatalities are men. And it's like, oh wow, you think men have it so bad, right? The reason that that's, a biased interpretation of facts is it doesn't take into account the fact that, women weren't originally allowed into the draft. And even today, as of 2016, 2 years ago, women only make up 16% of the armed forces.
Facts!
Straight facts, B. Presenting that statistic to the general populace has them take it under the, assumption that it's a perfectly balanced ratio, 50% men and women. In that case, it would be a real shocking statistic, feel me? Like, oh, these women in the hood, they're not dying for our country, but it's like 16% of them are out there. No wonder. Now, before we finish up,
I'm gonna let y'all in on a secret. I myself got some biases to work on. Who doesn't?
I mean, I found that.
Like, I didn't even realize it, but I've always found myself a little bit biased to maybe, like, certain religions. Because I grew up with,
Implicit, before you go to sleep, where are your sources?
I've taught you well.